Hey guys, welcome to another episode review. And since I'm a bit of on a Transformers kick, as of the other day, I've decided I'm going to review another, actually two, because they kind of go back to back with each other, two episodes for the price of one, since again, they're just one big story arc. And that is Transformers Season 3 episodes, Ghost in the Machine, and actually it's called Starscream's Ghost and Ghost in the Machine. And the reason these two go back to back is due to the fact that it's the first time in the franchise overall that we see Starscream's Ghost. And the way this came about, of course, is Starscream was destroyed by Galvatron in the movie. So basically, what remained of him, came back here in these two episodes. To basically get to the point, there is a renegade Decepticon who doesn't, basically fit the mold of a Decepticon, if you will, and is more of an outsider, kind of. He's a Decepticon with I guess you could say, good metallic heart, or just good reasoning, if you will, good personality. And he's more of a guy that likes to do trade-ins and stuff, like, oh, can I trade in this to get that kind of deal. And the character's name is Octane. He's friends with Autobot Sandstorm, or at least kind of compadres with him, kind of buddy a bit, if you will, not as much, but kind of like, they're cool with each other, they respect each other. And Octane, he's a triple changer, so that's cool. But basically, long story short, he's on the run from the Decepticons because he's viewed as a traitor. So he ends up on Cybertron, and he falls into the Decepticon crypt. Now, the Decepticon crypt, we can assume, is basically the same place where they held the ceremony on Cybertron for Starscream, where he was destroyed. So we can assume, like I said, that's where the crypt is, that the Autobots just turned it into a crypt, if you will. And it's here that we basically see the markers of a lot of the G1 Decepticons, Season 1 G1 Decepticons that were killed in the movie, or at least reformatted, killed off in the movie. Like Thundercracker gets acknowledged and seen, his marker. I guess they could say Ramjet is in there, but how is Ramjet in there when we've seen him before in the film, in the third season? But then again, we don't see all three of them. We just see the two Decepticon cone heads, if you will, the red and the blue one. We don't see Ramjet, so yeah, Ramjet is in there. Because Octane quotes something that he says, but here's the thing: we saw Ramjet at the beginning of season 3. We don't know how he survived or anything, because he and the other Coneheads died by being swallowed by Unicron in the movie. So it's just weird. But basically, it's acknowledged, I guess, he's dead. He died somehow during the third season, and he's or at least he died in the movie, and what we saw was just a clone of him. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if he was also mentioning Skywarp or something. I don't know, but he ends up going to the crypt, where the only remnants of Starscream that represent Starscream is his legs. Now, I don't know if that was an animation error or what, but but apparently it wasn't, because Octane goes up to them and one of them just falls down, and that apparently is enough to awaken Starscream's spark, or at least his ghost, if you will. And this is where it kind of got a little confusing for a lot of fans. Like, well, wait a minute. How can he have a ghost if, the other Decepticons that were killed off, not just reformatted, but killed off, don't have a ghost either? And that's always been an interesting question. Thankfully, throughout the years of Transformers lore and history that's been provided to us by Hasbro and other places as well, like Marvel, IDW, Dreamwave. We find out that Starscream is unique because of the fact that his spark somehow mutated. We don't know how it mutated. We don't know if it mutated because of the destruction of, at the hands of Galvatron in the movie. We don't know if it mutated when he got exiled in season 2. We don't know. We don't know what really occurred. But apparently his spark is a very special kind of spark because he can't be destroyed. I mean, physically he can be destroyed, but his spark just continues to live on. And he has the ability as a ghost to possess other Transformers. So here, basically, when Octane basically knocks down the legs, it reactivates his spark, or kind of reactivates him a little bit, wakes him up, and he reveals himself to Octane, basically say he's a shell of his former self, and that he just wants to have revenge on, on Galvatron for doing what he did to him. So, basically, to get to the point here, Octane helps him out, not only possess Cyclonus, which, he has the ability to do now, but he's able to lure, along with Octane's help, lure Galvatron into a trap, if you will. Basically a trap, an ambush, set up there where the Autobots basically blast the heck out of Galvatron. He's able to, I guess, barely escape Ape and everything, because when he shows up back on Char, he's still functioning, but he's just like, shot, beat the heck, if you will. He's just beat the heck, and it kind of does surprise Octane and Starscream, who's still in Cyclonus's body, but I don't know if it was an animation error or something, because it made it look like he was, it made it look like he had traded bodies, like he had taught Octane how to soul switch, and Octane ended up in Cyclonus's body or something. I don't know. It might have been an animation error, because of course back then these kind of shows would they get rushed out so much that you're going to get animation errors, one way or another, or even vocal errors, if you will. Anyway, and to get to the point here, Galvatron shows back up after basically surviving just barely, and this is where it gets revealed to him that basically the person, or the Decepticon that truly set him up along with Octane, wasn't Cyclonus, it was Starscream. And Starscream and Galvatron, it's like, Galvatron basically, gets shocked by this, but then he's like, I'm gonna have more fun destroying you now than I did the last time. And Starscream's like, well, destroying me with the Silver Star Decepticons. So, Galvatron goes to shoot at Cyclonus, who's possessed by Starscream, but Starscream's able to get out of the way, and instead it's Cyclonus that gets damaged. And as a result, at the end of this episode, this part of the story, we find out that Starscream has possessed Scourge. He's possessed Scourge, and this, of course, leads us into the next one, which is Ghost in the Machine. And what happens is that, I guess, obviously Scourge knows about him, and he ends up possessing Scourge again, trying to attack Galvatron, which he basically gets into a mini battle with them. Scourge is trying to, take back control of his body, but Starscream's not letting him, and we find out that he's basically body napping, Scourge, to go to Unicron, because Unicron is the only one that could give him back his old body. So what happens is they go to Unicron, they reactivate him. Unicron provides them with 3 labors they have to perform before he could do this. And 2 of those labors, one of those labors is to, get him a new set of eyes. And originally, the plan was to get Metroplex's eyes, but that backfired. They were only able to get 1 eye, because one, when they tried to grab it, shattered, and they had to grab another one, if you will, another eye, if you will, And to kind of distract the Autobots from what was going on, they set, you know, they set a bomb to go off in Metroplex's head. And what happens is, Metroplex detects, something going on, and it causes him to transform and everything. But he can't see, so he doesn't know where he's aiming at. And basically, he needs new eyes, basically, to be replaced. And like I said, the bomb goes off, blows up in his head, and basically, it causes the Autobots to have to repair him and everything to get him back online. So that's one labor down. The other labor is to get Trypticon, which is ironic because, because of the fact that they screwed up, they decided to go to Trypticon, at least Starscream does, to get the other eye of Trypticon. And they do. And then they go back to Unicron, who tells them you got to go back and get Trypticon for the for the second labor. So they do that. Starscream possesses Trypticon, if you will. And Galvatron is unaware of this till he hears Starscream's voice. And Starscream basically says, hey, once this is done, once I'm done borrowing him and I get what I want, you're gonna be sorry. Which Galvatron's like, I'm already sorry. So that's the second labor down. And then the third labor is Unicron wants Starscream and Scourge to attach his head to Cybertron so that he could turn Cybertron into his new body and thus resume what he did during the movie. And Scourge is like, oh, screw this. I didn't sign up for this. Goodbye. And, he goes to, tell the Autobots what's going on. Now, during all this, the Starscream possesses Astro Train to take both him and Scourge to Unicron with both eyes because he has more cargo room. And he should know that because he was alive. Because the Astro Train was in Season 2, if you will, so that makes sense. He possesses Runabout, basically, who shoots Run Amok and then runs Runabout into unconsciousness into a wall. And then, of course, like I say, he possesses Trypticon and everything. So, what happens is that, Unicron's about to get what he wants. He's about to get a new body. And then you have the Coneheads, the two Coneheads, the red and the blue one, basically say, that's not going to happen. And realizing, hey, they can't take on Unicron head on, literally, even as a head because he's too powerful. So they decide they're just going to scramble the circuits a little bit of Trypticon so that Starscream can't control him. So Starscream basically then takes this as an opportunity to be like, look, you want me to finish this Unicron? You got to physically put me back to. You got to physically resurrect me. And Unicron does that. He just zaps him back to life. And then that's when Starscream what's the word I'm looking for? Regrets. Basically goes back on his word. He basically regulates his word, if you will. And what happens is that the Autobots place some bombs behind Unicron's head, and it causes Unicron's head to blast off into space a little further away from Cybertron. And what happens, though, and speaking of the Autobots, they see all this, they get informed about what's going on and everything. And, you have Ultra Magnus, Springer, and some of the Protectobots go into Unicron to see what's going on. They get zapped there, or zapped out of him, if you will. And then they have to go back to Cybertron to get reinforcements, and it just goes from there and here and there, if you will. Anyway, long story short, Starscream gets blasted into space along with Unicron, but in a different direction, and he gets blasted right past Galvatron and Cyclonus, and Galvatron's like, "It's Starscream, fire on him," and he starts firing, and Cyclonus is like, "Wait a minute, but he's a ghost," and Galvatron's like, "I don't care," he starts firing on him, and then that's when Cyclonus starts noticing, wait a minute, when can a ghost tumble around in space. And I think the other evidence is when Galvatron hits him and you physically like hear Starscream yelling like, "No, not again!" You know, basically he gets killed off again. And then I guess that leads us into an episode of Beast Wars where his spark shows up there. But yeah, overall the episodes were pretty good. It did, like I say, start the lore of Starscream's spark being a very unique spark, because it's, from what I understand, is a mutated spark. Thus, basically physically he can be destroyed, but his spark can't be. And this has been carried on through different different adaptations, iterations, if you will, of Transformers throughout the years, throughout the decades, to where whatever version of Starscream gets killed off, physically, that body he has is gone, but his spark still lives. And that's kind of a unique concept to have, when it comes to a Transformer dying and everything, that, they could still live, but it's only as a ghost or just by a spark. And that's what Starscream was, able to do, was able to, I guess, achieve. Because he didn't die, the way, that he wasn't, killed off or reformatted, I should say, like the other Decepticons and Megatron was. He was literally killed. And I think one of the biggest clues, if you watch the movie, when Galvatron basically blasts him to dust, you see him going like, just, getting all into shock and everything, and just leaning back. He says his head, I should say, leans back, and you see this redness come out. And that, to me, right there, when you see the redness coming out of his eyes, that's not just like, energy coming out, like the energy being blasted out of him, it's just coming out of his eyes or anything. It's not just that. But what it is it's his spark. It's his mutated spark basically, freeing itself, automatically or by instinct out of the body. That's what I look at. Like when you see that, like I said, when you see the redness coming out of his eye when he's getting destroyed in the movie, to me, that's the spark. That's his mutated spark, his soul, if you will, escaping on instinct out of the body. So, yeah, these 2 episodes in Season 3 are worth watching, because, again, like I said, it definitely starts something that becomes lore and becomes something of, something to basically, kind of look forward to, I should say, in any, if not most, Transformers adaptations. But anyway, though, guys, that's going to do it for this episode review 2 for the price of 1 of Starscream's Ghost and Ghost in the Machine from Transformers Season 3, Season 3 of Generation 1, I should say. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like chat during the premiere. What did you guys think of these episodes initially when you first saw them? And if you haven't seen them in a while, have not seen them at all, check them out. They are on Hasbro. They are on Hasbro Pulse's YouTube channel, and I think you will enjoy them thoroughly. The good episodes, in my opinion, and definitely, as I said, began a lore, a part of Transformers history, with a character that is stuck to even this day. But again, let me know what your thoughts are. Check out my Teespring store, live chat during the premiere, like the video, and I am out.